All right, so here we go. Fun stuff. Chapter 9. So one thing I gotta make sure you guys knew. Let me go to my desktop. So right here, can I make this wider? No, I can't. So this is a file path. Okay. Multiple files can have the same file path because the path goes to the location where it's saved in. So this is a location to my desktop. And then every file in my desktop will have, and if you notice, that popped up. So this is all of the files in that exact directory. So I can go, I need emails, CSV.
Did you ever get that tab thing to work?
Not consistently. I mean, if you wait, it pops up.
I had it, and I had waited like 10 seconds.
Yeah, no, I broke it, so thanks. I tried to fix it for you guys, and I break my own. Is it?
Well, broke it.
Oh, it works in the it works in my console. R.tab comes up.
It only works in shell.
Alright, I don't know. Regardless, so this is a file path. It does not contain the actual name of the file. And then obviously file is the file name. One thing you may want to do, it's what I did, and it makes this a little easier, is in your file explorer, notice how I have all of these. I have my I have these .csv, so it tells me what type of file it is. Guys, I would recommend turning that on. Do you guys have that already?
CSV?
See it? Well, it just shows you the .text, .dox, .py. It's called the file extensions. So what you'll want to do is you want to go to View.
Yeah.
Oops, hang on. This. No.
Oh, file name extensions checkbox thing?
Yeah, so you go to Options, change folder options. We zoom in. View. And you want to uncheck hide extensions for known file types. And that will permanently put the not the expiration date, the extension at the end of the file, so you know what type of file it is. Because if you're looking for a file that's called emails.csv and you type in emails.txt, it won't find it. You have to have the file name extension at the end all the time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Do you guys all have that?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to exit out of this. I'm going to get rid of the magnifier. So this is our file path, and then we have our CSV, or our actual file. Any questions on that? File path goes to the folder that the file is in. File name is the actual file. You can think of this as like, this right here is the address to your house.
Yeah.
You could have, 6 people living in a house, but this is the part that denotes it, who it actually goes to.
Yeah.
One sort of technobabble I want to talk to you guys about is called the root of. So if I were to say this folder's in the root of desktop, that means it's one of these folders down here. It's chilling in, it's not in something that's in desktop, the root of this folder is where this file is located. So that's not something technically that the book goes over, but it's just something I've learned in IT where is this file? Oh, it's in the root of the USB file. It's in the root of the USB. That means it's in the first folder you can get into. In the root of desktop, that means it's in the folder of desktop. Typically, it'll say the root of C. The C part of the path is the root folder, which contains all other folders. On Windows, the root folder is named C, and it is also called the C drive. On Mac OS and Linux, the root folder is /. In this book, I'll use the Windows style. Okay. So the root of the computer is C. The root of your file path, this is the root directory, is C. But if you say the root of desktop, I'll know you mean it's in the folder desktop. And it's the file or the folder's there. I don't have to look anywhere else. It's just chilling there. Like this folder here, this Python scripts, that folder is in the root of, is in the root of desktop. It's nowhere else. It's not in gaming in whatever, in another folder. Yeah. Does that make sense? That's just some technobabble. Okay. So this next little bit, the / on Windows and / on Windows and Linux. Notice all of the folders are separated by a /, which is why I put an R before this string to make it raw, because if I don't, it freaks out. And notice the error is basically telling you, I don't 100% know what truncated that means, but I know that it has a / in it, so your / is screwed up. So your /U doesn't mean anything, your /Z doesn't mean anything. So if you don't want to use R, you have to put 2 backslashes. And then it's okay. Or like I said up here, you can just use the raw string. And notice even when it displays it, it has to display the two backslashes. I'm not going to go over Windows because you guys don't use, or I'm not going to go over Mac OS because you guys don't use Mac OS. You guys use Windows. You may use Macs. But I do want to go over this real quick so you guys understand, and if I throw it on a quiz, you'll kind of know what it means. So we import pathlib, or no, hang on. From pathlib import path. And if you do path, these are names of folders.
With a cap.
It will throw those together.
And what's the point of this?
So if you want to, instead of having the user type out folder, /folder, 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 you just say what are the names of the folders and in order, and you type them in and then you put them together.
And there are /s in there. It doesn't matter.
Why is that /? That's a good catch.
Or is it just because now it has Windows path that doesn't care?
This says even though Windows uses backslashes, the Windows path representation in the interactive shell displays them using /, since open source developers have historically favored the Linux operating systems.
Yep.
If you want to get the simple text of the string, you can pass it to, so if we do that'll give it to us the way we need it. So you just got to make it a string. Josh. If you make it a string, you get the real ones. So we are going, I swear this book, when did this change? Yeah, they changed a little bit of what you import, so I'm sorry that I'm a little. That's weird. So we're gonna maintain this. Let's say my files. We're gonna go my files equals, and I'm gonna grab 3 files from my desktop. I don't have a folder open. Actually, never mind. We're gonna put this in a loop or in a list. We're gonna go test.py. We're gonna go mail.csv, and we're gonna go grades.xls. Then what we can do is for file name in my see. And this is actually one of the things that we're going to do in order to loop through a directory to get all the file names. This is very similar to what you're going to do. zstolter, boom, boom. So now I have the file path and the location and the actual file for those 3 files. My files aren't necessarily always going to be file names that I've put in there. They may be files you create. So what we're going to do is we're also going to learn how to create text files and read them and write to them. So this is, like I said in intro, if you guys want to do a high score, you save the information to a text file. Then you read from a text file. We're going to learn that, and that's going to be a big part of this class, is writing information to a text file and then saving it for later to continue with our scripts. Make sense? Okay. So, any questions on this? I know it seems like, well, that's kind of obvious, but questions? No? Okay. Again, these my files will eventually be a module that gets the name of every file and puts it in a list for you. So this is just the beginning of what we're gonna do. This is we never really used this. Because the reason I'm looking at this saying we never really used this is because this helps a lot if you're coding between Windows and Macs. If you're only using Windows, it's kind of less important. But we'll go through it real quick. Windows path. Bam. What we can then do is add /bacon. It will throw those things together. No. Questions on that? I know you're like, what?
What's the point of that?
What's the point of that?
Versus the other.
You're adding things into it. So if you're adding onto a file path that's already there, you can do it this way. Just like we used to concatenate strings and add numbers together, this is how you add folders to a path. So if you ask, what directory is your video game stored in? And you give me a path, I can then go, okay, I've created 2 new folders and this is where stuff is being saved, and I need to add that to what you've already given me that I've saved as a variable. Again, because we're also not only going to create text documents, we're going to create folders. And yes, I can tell where you guys are nefariously thinking you can write code that just creates empty text documents, like 1,000 empty text documents.
Why would you want to do that?
If you wanted to create some sort of malware.
Wanna cry. Have you heard of that? Basically, open a bunch of documents and take a computer crash.
Yeah, this could do
I
that.
think that's wanna cry.
So there will be a talk about what we learn.
Ethics of coding.
Exactly, the ethics of coding. So don't make me regret teaching you guys this.
Wait, no, WannaCry is ransomware. Hold on.
Are you done? Or did you find it?
We can keep going on.
Okay. So the next thing, so this will work, but again, if you're coding on different operating systems, these backslashes can mean different things and it can be interpreted differently. So the better way to do it would be to actually use a join function. So it's an actual function that takes everything and joins them together, which is, do you guys remember? So if we have a list is my you guys remember how to make that into a string? You could. That takes too long. No. So with a list, you can do.
We don't learn that.
Oh.
We didn't learn dot join.
All right. So what it is, this is the list you want to join, and this is what separates. This takes place. This basically replaces the comma.
Gotcha.
So you want to put.
So if we want to put a smiley face there.
Oh, I got it.
And if you put a space there, it makes it into a sentence.
We did like end, like at the end of the print statement, like set.
Yeah.
Equals, so what we do.
Okay.
End,
Then that's
or start, I think.
sep and end.
Step and end, yeah.
Yeah. So that's how the join function works. It works with lists, and you can also join strings together. So what we're going to do is we're going to separate everything by 2 backslashes. Makes sense because we want everything to be separated by 2 backslashes. We're going to do dot, I can't see what I'm typing, dot join. Notice it even
Did you get that?
pops up. I don't know. It just showed up one day. And then we have our list, and it's going to be spam, bacon, eggs. So then what it does is it puts it together.
What is that?
It's just the name of a folder. I'm just copying what this guy did. Does that make sense to you guys? So if you're taking inputs from the user as a file path, because again, you don't want them to type in the whole file path because you think they're not going to get it correct, or they're going to screw up the backslashes or whatever, you can have them type in the file names and you can join it together to create the own file path. Now, the next thing, this is pretty important, the current working directory. Our current working directory is this classroom. We can very easily access anything in this classroom, right? We don't have to move. We don't have to leave. If we wanted to get to Miss Engebretsen's room, we would have to leave our current working directory and go into her classroom. Does that make sense? Conceptually? So our current working directory is the folder we are currently in. And if we want to get into Python scripts, because this is going to be my current working directory shortly, it's where the current working directory by default is wherever the file is currently saved. So if you're just saving your file to wherever this is, 1, that's a pretty niche directory, and 2, the file path is pretty long. Users, utility, app, data, local, program, Python 3732. If you want that file to read or write to any other file, you either have to be in the same current working directory or you have to navigate to it. I would recommend saving from now on everything that you're going to use with these Python scripts, these automating process, the reading and writing files, the files I give you for tests. I would save them to one file, probably on your desktop, because your OneDrive and Google Backup and Sync both back up your desktop. So if you lose anything, it's automatically backed up. I would start saving everything there. If I give you, because I'm going to start giving you guys files for tests, say, hey, here's a 10,000 word text file. You need to read it and find the information. Kind of like regex is, but before I gave you the actual text, I would say text equals, and it's a Python file, and you would copy and paste it over. Did you guys do that? Like with the GoldenEye quiz?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I'm just going to give you a file. And you will, in your code, have to open, read the file, and then do all that stuff. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So again, every time I give that to you, it's going to be in the student resources folder. You'll need to download it and put it in this Python scripts folder on your desktop. And then you can talk to each other. That makes it easier. You don't necessarily have to put everything in the same folder, but if you guys, what's so funny, Micah?
We were just looking at that quiz grid.
No.
It's a hard
No. I thought you guys did pretty good. Maybe not.
quiz. I didn't.
I don't know. I grade and forget. Like
13.
I can't. Anyway. So again, current working directory is the folder that the file is currently saved in. If you would like to talk or read to any other file, it either needs to be in the same directory, or you need the file path to that location. There's two types of file paths. You have the absolute file path, which is this whole thing. Again, I'm going to get this magnifier so you can read it. So it's this whole thing, which honestly, that's easier for me. Just saying absolute, this is where it is on my computer. I find where it is, I copy and paste that into the code, and I'm done. I don't have to worry about, the next thing is the relative file path. A relative file path is, so let's go to desktop. Let's say I'm working at it with a file in here. My relative file path is from where I am, how do you get to where this other file is? So instead of, and I'm going to do a little graphical representation here. So here's my file, here's a folder, here's a folder, here's a folder, here's my file. Say this is C. So this is the root of my computer. This is C. My absolute file path is going to be C.this/this/file. With my relative file path, so if this is C, actually no, that's not how that's going to work. So this is absolute. I'd have to put absolute is this. So I would do R this every time I wanted to reference any file on my computer. Let's say the file I am currently working on this is the .py file, and this is the .text file. That's my .text file. So this is my current working directory, is this folder. So this is C, this is, we're gonna go spam. This is, but I can't spell baloney, so that's gonna be balcony. This is gonna be turkey. So I'm in Turkey right now. I could do the absolute file path for this .txt file, which would be C spam balcony. But I don't want to do that. I want to use the relative path. Relative path basically says if I'm here, I need to go up to baloney, and then there's my file. So it's not an absolute path. I don't start at C. What I start with technically is
So it's the file so if you were working in your py file in Turkey, you could like cd out of Turkey or whatever that command is.
Period.
And go to balcony and go to the text file.
Yeah. So I can't remember, and I'm gonna look this up real quick. Home for absolute. So the dot, there's also the dot and the dot. These are for special names used passing of dots to folder shorthand for this directory, parent folder. Okay. So dot is the current working directory. So this current working directory, that's the shortcut, CDW. Dot is the parent folder. Who knows what a parent folder is?
The folder above the folder you're in?
Yes, so if I'm in Turkey, what is my parent folder?
Balcony.
Yes, if I'm in balcony, what's my parent folder? Spam, yes. So this is why with the dots, they confuse me, not gonna lie. I don't like dealing with them because I don't wanna think in relation to where I'm currently working, where is this file? I just wanna say, this is where it is. So I tend to use absolute file paths for almost for everything. Does that make sense? Do you guys want me to draw it a different way or follow what's in the book?
No, I got it.
Because in the book, they have a much better diagram that I could ever hope to draw, explaining it, and they give you examples of where things are. Obviously, it takes up less space if you use the dot dot, but it also, for me, is confusing. Does that make sense? Okay. So for those of you at home, this is the much better. Anyway, really hope I don't get in trouble for sharing that website.
Why would you get in trouble?
I don't know. It's just one of those things. I've looked it up and it says this is free to use for education, so I don't feel like it's bad, but
Copyright.
that freaks me out. Okay, so the current working directory. Like I said, we're gonna need to know that. Import OS. What do you think OS does?
Operating system.
It allows us to interact with the operating system more, gives us more options. So we're gonna go, oh gosh, they changed this. I don't know why. You know what I'm gonna do, because I can. I'm changing the capital P to a lowercase p because it annoys me that I have to capitalize it. Path.current working directory. So this is where I'm currently working in. I do not like that current working directory. That current working directory is the niche folder that's way out, that's way dug in there, and I don't like it. Does that make sense?
Yep.
What this folder here is,
That's where we're working.
yeah, that I'm currently working here. So if I save anything or any files I want to access, these are the only files I can access without changing my working directory or using an absolute file path. Does that make sense? Are you guys just saying yes, or does it actually make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Just chilling in Python.
Okay. So current working directory, you guys, odds are will use that command quite often because you'll be like, wait, why is it not finding this folder? Oh, I'm in the wrong working directory. Also, this is good for if you use command prompt. So in certain applications, you'll have to open command prompt and run files. And to do that, that's CD. Change directory, CD, then you give it the new directory.
Why? If based on your example, like, oh, I'm in the wrong working directory, why would you need to be in the right one to begin with if you can just use an absolute file path to open another? Because like, what's the point of being in a current working directory if you can just call another file that's, so to say, halfway across the world in your hard drive?
Because it's easier.
So you can.
So I can say
in the same working directory.
Yeah, so I can say 4 files in current working directory, print files, as opposed to 4 files in this absolute file path. It cuts down the amount of times you have to copy and paste the absolute file path.
Okay.
So we can also do os.changedir. What do you think that stands for?
Change directory.
change directory. So the best way to do this is to then find on your computer where you want to go. So I want to go to my Python scripts. I copy this. I go back and I paste it. Now if I go path dot current working directory, I am now in exactly where I'd like to be. I'm chilling in my Python scripts. I can now save files. I can now open files. I can read files. Oh, so if I'm going to open files, Josh, and I could do open file equals open. And now because I'm in, is that how you spell it? Is that a capital I? It's a capital I. And if I were in the other directory, I'd have to go open absolute file path or relative file path. I wouldn't do relative file path. Absolute file path to this space as opposed to just being able to type open.
Yeah, true.
For ch in open file print ch.
Wait, what? So I can pick any file I have in there?
And you can read it, and then you gotta do we're gonna get to that. Don't worry about that. But you'll just want to change your working directory to the place where you're currently saving everything, because then it's easier to open files and everything. Now what happens if we do os.chirder and we're gonna go you guys don't need to do the open file thing.
Yeah, but he wants.
There you go. What it does is it reads it by line. So you could have a Python file read another Python file and put spaces after every variable or in between X and space. So you could have a program that writes a program. That might be a project for you guys to do. Write a program that edits a program.
Would this be editing a text file?
Be editing a .py file.
Yeah.
Which is essentially, you can open py files in text editor. There's a joke that real coders use text editor, and that's it. They just type in Notepad. Anyway, so does this file exist?
Probably not.
Local disk C, users. Is there a Captain America folder there? So we're gonna get an error. File not found error. So again, this might be a try and accept. So what file would you like to open? Captain America, try opening it. Oh, that doesn't exist. Please make sure it's correct and try again. Okay? So again, try and accept. Now that we're taking a user input, and it very well could be super wrong. Before it's like enter a number. Well, you didn't enter a number greater than 4 or whatever, but we have PyInput Plus for that. But now we have to assume that they're correct and take whatever they give us and look for it in our computer. And if that's not there, then we need to say, hey, we can't let our program crash if they fat finger a file name. We can't have our program crash if they type in the wrong file directory. So this is when try and accept comes in. What's
How do you open your messages? Maybe I'll write a Python script to do it.
Oh, yeah. So also your home in your computer is your users folder.
Okay.
So anything you want to save, if you just save it to your home, that is, I have too many windows open, I don't want people to see. Local disk, users, Z Stolter, this is my home directory.
Sweet.
So you're learning a little bit more, but then, okay. So I don't know what time we get out of here.
Mine says 35.
35?
But it might end at 20. I think it's 30.
20 minutes.
I still have you guys for another half hour.
Not 20
Have fun.
minutes. Maybe it's
My schedule says 35, so I got you for
What?
28 more minutes.
Oh, it's hour 5.
Yeah, hour 5-minute classes.
Hour 10.
Wait.
No, we went over this. It's 65 minutes. Took me like 5 minutes to figure
No,
that
it's
out.
hour 10.
No, it's not.
That is Broman says an hour 10. He must be down.
Oh no, his class was an hour 10, and first hour was an. This is why it took me 5 minutes in networking. Hour 1 and hour 2 are 70-minute classes. Hour 3 is a 65-minute class, and then tomorrow, period 4, everything is 60 minutes.
I've got to have a talk with the administrator about that.
I'm not, dude. If I didn't have the schedule, I would be like, listen, I don't know when I'm supposed to teach, and I don't know when you're supposed to leave. I'm just gonna go into the bell rings.
I had no late start, so I had a trouble looking up this morning.
All right, so now the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna create folders. After we've import OS, which we've already done, it's very easy. os.make dirs. And then you give it the file location where you want the folder to be created. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my Python scripts folder, and I want to make folders in here as an example for you guys. So I'm going to copy that file location in Python scripts, and then I'm going to make, I'm just going to follow this, delicious. If I can't, IOUS.
.py.
Nope, I'm just making a folder. I'm not making a file. So then, boot, look, delicious.
Ooh. That's tasty.
It is. Now, if I want to create an entire tree of folders, now a tree is, when we think of a tree, a tree to us, you know, starts. I'm not an artist, so I apologize. Actually, I don't really apologize. Whatever. Right, so we start with one thing, and then we branch to a bunch of smaller things. And coding, it's similar. We start with one folder that then branches off into 3, that then branches off into a file, into another folder, into folder, blah, 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 blah. So you guys see how that works out? So you can make a tree. That was pretty impressive. I don't know if anyone saw that. You guys did.
Kind of like a bureaucracy. I think.
I don't know. Hierarchy.
Yeah.
So instead of having to make this folder and then a command to make this folder and then a command to make this folder, if we then do delicious, I don't like walnuts, let's do blue.
Peanuts?
Oh. Let's do blueberry pancakes. It will then create, so I have delicious, it created blueberry, and it created pancakes. Yes, Josh.
Is there a way to, like you said, like with that make dirs, have like create a file folder, and then from that folder in the same like command to make 4 different folders in the same loop?
I don't think so.
No.
You'd have to do a loop.
Okay.
I don't think you could do. I mean, if maybe.
Well, it has comma and then it's like mode equals 511 and exist equals okay.
What did you say?
Well, when my .cat works, sometimes. it says,
I don't think so.
Name mode equals 511. Exist okay equals false.
I don't know.
Wait.
I would just do a loop.
Okay.
Was it
So
From pathlet.
you guys, so up here again, this is some stuff. So you
gosh darn it.
path. Did we go over objects? Like in general, what is an object versus a variable?
I think so.
Yeah. I don't know. I couldn't specifically name it for you. but-
So an object is more than just a variable. A variable is X is this. An object is a virtual thing that has multiple properties.
Cool.
So a path object is not just X equals path name. It is something that has like a matched object had a location, it had a length, it had what was actually found. It was multiple things tied to one object. So like your water bottle is green, contains liquid, or a foot tall. So all of these different attributes of that object are there. It's not just water bottle equal water or whatever. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Get water bottle equal Gatorade. It's you could do like you could do water right? So you could make an object with just a bunch of different variables, or you could say water bottle, and I'm just gonna go object equals, and it contains a bunch of different things, or water bottle dot maker, and that would give you Gatorade or whatever. Does that make sense?
So
How do
basically,
you-
object could be a list, a dictionary,
It's more than just that.
but a list and dictionary has multiple attributes in them.
Yes. But it's no dictionary and list objects, those are actually a thing. You do have string objects and you do have integer objects. You can just create your own. So what I'm trying to say is that we can take this path object from up here, and again, we're not really going to use this that much. This right here, this path object dot make dirs. Great. What did I mistype? Hang on. Where?
I thought you.
Oh, it's make dir, not make dirs. What are you talking about? That's exactly what.
Is it 'cause it's
We're
a
skipping that.
capital P?
No, it's like. It's probably this one. If I could find it. This is great. I probably look so good as a teacher right now.
Oh,
I'm just
I'm
joking.
Whatever. I'm not gonna quiz you on that.
Wait, isn't
All you need to know, make dir makes
isn't
folders.
.mk not .mak?
What did I?
Is it?
Oh gosh. If I had it,
Nope. Never mind. Wait. Well, that's a different error.
File not found.
Oh, that's probably not a real file.
yeah, but it's supposed to make it.
That's not a real
Whatever.
file path.
Yeah, but it's supposed to make the file at that place. We're skipping it. Don't worry about it. Next, like, yeah, we can skip that. Okay, so what I want you guys to do. Well, no, I still have 20 minutes, and I think that's more of like a 10-minute exercise.
No, it won't make several subdirectories at once, like os.make.
Oh. So let's see. We've gone over that. They added a bunch of stuff to this. It used to be a lot simpler. Current. Oh, great. Now I just lost my spot. Okay. Here we go. One, it can tell you. So this next little bit tells you whether or not a path is absolute or relative. So this would be useful if a person is typing in and you want to validate that what they're typing in, are they typing in an absolute path or a relative path? Because maybe your code relies on an absolute path and they think they can type in a relative path, or vice versa. So again, we're already imported path. So what we're going to do, let's do path.current working directory. Boom, we got that. That's where I'm currently working. Then you do is underscore absolute, and it gives me true. So you could do try this, and if this, or if true, that's okay. Otherwise, we could do is are you kidding me? Is there not one? I should just go home. Dot, and then we wait.
Tab.
It's,
What? It doesn't work.
why is whatever. We'll return. All right, so yeah, there is no is relative because if it's not absolute, it has to be relative apparently. So that's useless. I'm so terrible at my job. Sorry. Questions? Okay. So the next one, and again, I'm skipping over a little bit of this here. Absolute path. So you can have it make the path for you or give you a relative path. So what we're going to do, os.path.abs path. Now if I do this, what does that mean? What's the period mean? Is that a question, Micah, or is that?
It is the current.
Say it with confidence.
Yeah.
I just didn't know if that was the right
It is. So it will give me.
use of.
That's totally correct because a period, remember, is the parent or is the current working directory in relative paths. If I were to do 2 periods, what would that do?
Parent.
Yep. What if I do?
3 periods.
Nah, that'll error out.
Whoa.
Okay, it didn't error out. But let's do.
5.
That didn't work. 5 periods. 1 million. It probably once, if it's not 1 or 2, if it's 1, it's the current working directory. If it's 2, it's parent. If it's anything else, it's the current working directory. What we can also do, once you get rid of all of these. Why am I getting a period?
Because it's the current one.
And the shorthand for the current working directory is, so the relative path from the current working directory to the current working directory is just the current working directory. There is no path. So if I were to do, well, now why am I getting?
It's relative path. Your path,
To the
comma,
parent.
and you have to start somewhere.
I'm making a relative path of a relative path.
What?
No, if you're doing
No, because you're
document-
already in Python script, so
No,
yeah.
relative path takes
Going-
2 arguments. I thought
Nope.
it says path, comma, start.
From 1 to the, yeah, you're getting
If
ahead.
going
You're getting
to-
ahead.
Which one are we at right now?
We are on the one above it.
Is absolute path.
Yes. Absolute path. So
Yeah.
the current working directory is also a period. The absolute path of my current working directory is this. But if I were to put, instead of that period, if I put
Period.
I'm going to get the same thing because I'm making an absolute path into an absolute path. That's what this command does. Or I'm taking a relative path and turning it into a relative path. So that's why this right here is just coming up with a period. Because I'm making an absolute path into an absolute path, and I'm making a relative path into a relative path. Does that make sense? Okay. Whereas relative path of this is in relation to my current working directory. Remember that. So what is the relative path? What's going to pop up here? Just period. Because I'm currently in this current working directory. And then a relative path for this, if I get rid of Python scripts, what's going to pop up? Yes.
Nice.
What do you guys have questions on for that?
And this is not the com start. This is just.
And then if you
Comma start.
if you put a new folder in, it would
Yeah.
do // that folder.
It says where is it?
Yes, so instead of Python scripts, if I typed in, what's another folder on my desktop?
Well, not even that. If you just went from Python or desktop
Resources.
and then start at Python scripts, it would give you that.
Parent folder, and then resources. What's your question, Josh?
Oh, that was just it.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, and then this is calling OS. Oh, we just went over that. Absolute path is absolute. One will give you, so you can give it a start and an end point, and you can get the relative path between 2 points, between 2 folders. So, and that is with os.path.rel path, relative path, and we want to go from Python scripts to resource. So that will give me the relative path. So if, I don't know, again, a lot of this stuff is you can do it. And it will depend on how you want to write your own code. I understand the beginning of this chapter is a little cut and it was a little dry. We get out at 35, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Once we get past this sort of path manipulation and figuring out the relationship between 2 locations, then it gets to a lot more fun. Trust me. So your homework over the weekend will be fun.
No, you don't give me that.
I don't give you that homework.
Yeah.
That's my job.
No.
Why's your phone out, Micah?
Your job is to teach us. Because I was gonna write down that I have homework.
You text yourself.
Okay, good answer.
I have notes.
I haven't. I'll come up with it because I don't want to take stuff from the book yet because we haven't gotten there. Relative path. And then last one is an absolute path. Determines whether or not something is an absolute path. Need me to show you that one?
Not really. Are we ever going to use it really?
That's up to you. The anchor drive, like not all of this is new stuff that we didn't have before, and it's like, okay. So what this is going to do, if our path, let's go, P is path. Oh, oops. Get rid of that R. So if we do, so this is now a object. That object has different attributes. So if we do p dot anchor, the anchor is basically the beginning of the path, which will almost always be C. Then we have p dot parent. What's p dot parent going to be?
Parent function is parent directory.
Yeah, it takes me to the desktop because I'm currently in Python scripts. So the parent of that folder is this, and it is not a string; it is a path object. So I can't just go for ch in p dot parent print ch. Right? It's not iterable. It's not something I can break down. It is an object. It is a thing. You can do p name, p dot name. What do you think that's going to give you? Name of whatever we're in. P dot. Now this one is going to be tricky. What's p dot suffix of a? What's the suffix of a folder?
The dot.
Doesn't exist.
Nothing.
So if you have a
If it was
folder,
file,
if you have a
dot TXT.
yeah, if we did, I don't even know if this will work because I don't know if it'll say it doesn't exist. No, okay, cool. P dot name text, p dot suffix text, p dot drive. Oops. C. So again, yeah, you can list, they have these parent things, and let's do p dot parents bracket 0. That'll give you the whole thing. Parents 1, that shortens it by 1. Notice how it's getting rid of folders beforehand. Again, part of this is knowing that you can do it, not necessarily like super awesome that you're gonna use it all the time. File path, oh gosh, there's just so many ways you can split up and use all of this stuff. All right, we're gonna jump ahead. I'm gonna go back, but later. But I want to get you something that's actually kind of cool, something you can use. So you can use os.path.get size, and what do you think that's going to give you?
Size of the file.
The size of a file. So you can actually go through your computer and say, in this folder, what is my total amount of storage? Like, how much am I using up? Why's your computer closed, Nick?
My brain turned off.
Well, do like squats. That'll wake it up.
We have 4 minutes. Yeah, fine, I'll open it back up.
I don't ask much of you, Nick.
I'm tired. I had to freaking do pottery for an hour. You know how hard that is?
Yes, I did
And
it.
then I had calculus for an hour.
Pottery would be the bomb.
I feel like
I played Monopoly for an hour and 10 minutes this morning, so I'm chilling.
Oh, I
Yeah.
did it.
Yeah.
you guys. I worked.
We're playing Monopoly as we speak. You're running a Monopoly in that IT office.
How so?
You're like the only
There's
IT
no color.
person besides, what's his name?
Vishnov and Felinsky?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have
Oligopoly.
we have 3 IT guys for like 750 people,
Oligopoly.
and like
There's a lot of people who need their HDMI cord
uh,
put in the TV.
You're running all.
is it
What's
plugged
the
in? Yeah,
750 computers.
The product you're offering is
more like 1,000 devices though, because we have these computers, we have all the APs, we have all the phones, we have all of the Apple TVs and the Chromecast and all that sort of stuff. So it's like over 1,000 devices for the 3 of us, and it's basically only 2 of us because Mr. Felinsky is more of the database guy and he doesn't really help with tech stuff. Anyway, or like troubleshooting. So real quick, let's find the size of of Spelunky. That's a shortcut. Where does this go to? Because I actually want to see where this goes.
Open.
No, I want where there should be like,
Open
No,
it.
Splunky goes to your Steam folder, right?
yeah, but I want the file.
Open Steam.
No.
Steam.
So we're going like this one. I can go open file location.
You have
So
to go to the
Spotify.exe. Here we go. So we are going to find the size of Spotify.exe, and that is /Spotify.exe. Yeah. So that is in bytes. So that is 22
22 megs.
22 megs. Yeah, because it's bytes, kilobytes, megabytes. 22 megs. So you can have it for all these folders in this folder, all these files in this folder. Calculate the size. And then this is how, like, I have an application on my computer that will tell me where all of my files are. It'll basically, I'll just run it. Gosh, I'm so bad. Tree size free. And what it will do is it will select directory, scan local disk. Always start as admin. Yeah. So it's going to start back with, and what it's doing is it's doing exactly what we just learned. It's going through, getting the size of each file, adding it to a total, and so now you can see that I have almost 60 gigs, 56, we got a lot of videos because all these videos are saved on my computer. All right, so I'll get you guys maybe I'll get you guys some homework, maybe not.
I'm thinking not.
Then Monday you're gonna have to hit the ground running.
Probably won't remember all this directory stuff because it's like so not confusing, just so much.
It is, and a lot of it. Have a good one.